Death. No matter who you are or how you live, death eventually finds its way to all of us. You might be a big-shot official with wealth, reputation, and a life that seems paved with roses, but that doesn't stop death from waiting for you somewhere down the road. So what exactly is death? It's a kind of ending, a break in the flow, isn't it? We get anxious about physical death, but only if we can't slip around it by imagining that we'll keep on living in some other form. So when we ask about death, we're really asking if there's something that goes on after the body stops working. We see bodies buried or cremated every day. Obviously, the body doesn't continue. What continues? That's why many of us believe there's some invisible or spiritual part of us, mind, personality, soul, that might carry on. We ask, does my stream of thought keep going? After all, we've spent time meditating, improving ourselves, polishing our minds. If I'm halfway through writing a book or working on some big project, I worry that death might rob me of finishing it. So in that sense, death feels like a cosmic disappointment. I'm in the middle of something, we say. I can't possibly die yet. But notice how this fear arises from wanting more time. Time to finish, time to perfect ourselves, time to keep the pleasure going. We're terrified that death ends it all. Why we fear death. Our real question is, how can life go on despite death? We want a promise from someone, anyone, that we'll continue in some form. If one teacher won't give it to us, we'll look to another. But this longing for continuity is really just a desire. We feel incomplete. We want more money, more power, more status, more time, more everything. And whenever this rush toward more is cut short, we call it death. Then we try all sorts of ideas and beliefs to get around it. The continuity of thought. Thought itself can continue even if your body dies. In fact, that's been shown in various ways. Ideas live on in other minds, in books, in culture, and really aren't you just a bundle of thoughts, your name, your job, your bank balance, your memories? If you took away all these ideas, where would your self be? So if you say, I want my thoughts to carry on because eventually they'll lead me to the truth or God or some grand happiness, you have to ask, does thought ever truly uncover truth? We chase happiness through all sorts of ways, money, relationships, possessions, yet it's all driven by thought. Does thought ever deliver real joy? Where death doesn't exist. Is there such a thing as fresh renewal, real rebirth in endless thinking? If there were genuine renewal every moment, we wouldn't fear death at all. If your life was constantly new and alive from one moment to the next, death wouldn't scare you because you wouldn't be clinging to a fixed story. Renewal happens when thought ends. But as long as we insist on keeping the same story going in our heads, death and the fear of death remain. Only when we see that newness doesn't come from endless repetition does real hope appear. Then our attention turns toward letting each moment of thought come and go rather than holding it in place. Deathless love. When there's love, there's no fear of death, because real love doesn't come from thinking. It isn't pinned down by time or memory. It blossoms moment by moment, because it's fully here. Right now, it's timeless. Death and immortality. We look for something everlasting in the midst of change. We try to find something permanent as life shifts around us. We search for light in darkness, for the infinite in the river of time. Yet in a life where we're not clinging, there's no fear of death, and in that way there is a kind of immortality. But merely hoping or believing in immortality isn't the same as experiencing it. If you want to truly feel what's beyond time, you have to let go of the beliefs and hopes that prop up your ego. The eternal present. Because we don't understand life as it is right now, we run off into the future or worry about death, but the present moment is eternity itself. We don't experience the timeless, while we're caught up in time, yet the present is always here. Even if we try to escape into tomorrow, we're only doing it right now. Is endless joy possible? There might be a joy that doesn't fade. But to discover it, you have to be free. Free to explore truth firsthand, without old baggage getting in the way. That means freedom from teachers you blindly follow, from rigid beliefs about what's good or bad, from the authority figures you rely on to tell you how to live, and especially from the little voice of the ego that stirs conflict and pain. In the happiness of this present, there's no one who is happy and no experience of happiness. It's all just happening. If your mind and heart are heavy with yesterday's memories, you can't live fully in this eternal present. You have to let yourself die to each day, to each moment, so something boundless and creative can be born. When you let go of memories and the me that clings to them, when you give up your likes and dislikes, even your cherished ones, you're not left with emptiness, but with a creative spark. That fresh aliveness can solve the toughest problems and ease the deepest sorrow. It's in the death of the egoic self that real life is found. The fear of losing what we know. We think of the I as some spiritual core, but really it's just a bundle of memories and thoughts. Even if we imagine a higher self, it's still an idea formed by the mind. So in the end, whether it's your everyday self or some lofty version of it, it's all memory. Naturally, the body wears out. No matter how well we take care of it, eventually it breaks down through age, disease, or accident. We see that all around us, and we accept it easily enough. But the real trouble is that we only know the small slice of life we're used to, our relationships, our routines, and we don't want to lose them. We're so attached to our familiar world, painful as it might be, that we fear stepping into the unknown. The little we know, we actually don't know much at all. We don't deeply understand our relationships to our neighbors, spouses, or even our own thoughts. We often stay on the surface, and strangely, we want that shallow life to continue. Isn't that rather silly? Death and life are one. If we really felt life in all its depth, we wouldn't crave its shallow continuation, because true life is the unknown, and death is also the unknown. They are not two separate things. Only those who cling to the superficial view them as separate, one called life, the other death. Believing in reincarnation or some guaranteed afterlife can be just another way to avoid our fear, a way to keep the small self going on forever. Thought does continue in various forms, but if you're looking for truth, thought isn't your path. Thinking is time-bound. It isn't going to lead you to the timeless. When you face the unknown directly, your fear vanishes. Life is the unknown, death is the unknown, and truth is the unknown too. Letting go of I. Life is far bigger than our little slice of what we know. That slice is just memory, thoughts stuck in the past. The mind gets attached to these memories, and so it lives trapped within what's known. Only a mind willing to be in that mysterious place of not knowing can invite the unknown in. When the mind is caught in certainty, fear remains. But when we let ourselves float in uncertainty, something shifts. In that openness, fear dissolves. How do you seek God? Do you just trust what someone else tells you? Or do you explore on your own? Real exploration demands openness. It's like stepping into a wide, endless ocean without a map, letting yourself drift until you find something real, something that can't be contained by rules and formulas. If you rely only on others' words, you miss the discovery. If you cling to your own mental images, you're just circling back to yourself. So the invitation is to go fearlessly into the unknown, right here and now. In that space, death loses its sting. And the word God points to something beyond thought, something that can't help but fill you with wonder. If there's no passion, there's no real sensitivity. Yet so many spiritual texts, so many revered teachers, and countless authority figures keep telling us, don't be passionate. But how can we notice the glow of a sunset or the sadness in a friend's tear if we dull our passion? Sure, you might be passionate about getting a better job, or hating someone for being poor, or feeling jealous of someone's success. But I'm pointing to something else entirely. a passion that rises from love. Real love isn't bound by the ego. It doesn't label sex or anything else as good or bad. It doesn't stir up inner conflicts. How can you be truly sensitive in love if there's no passion behind it? A sensitive heart sees the ugliness in city streets, the filth, the hunger, and also the breathtaking sweep of rivers and oceans, the beauty of the open sky. Without real passion, how can you be moved by a smile or a single tear? Believe me, love is passion. A mind that loves to learn carries a special kind of passion. I'm not talking about just chasing pleasure. I mean a mind that's always discovering, bright, alive, and youthful. Not many of us have that sort of passion. We know little pleasures, habits, cravings. But few truly feel this big, vibrant energy. Without it, how can you learn, find anything new, or keep pace with life's constant changes? Yet a passionate mind faces risks. The act of truly learning leads us to act, and sometimes that action may fail. Maybe that's why most of us are content to play it safe, accepting things, following orders, talking about duty and respect, and using those words as a shield to avoid real learning. Real learning is a kind of discipline that doesn't demand blind obedience. When you're exploring your emotions, your anger, your desires, there's no room for either suppressing or indulging them. This is tricky because tradition, memory, and habit tend to shove our minds into well-worn ruts. We slip into those grooves and don't want to be disturbed. That's why, for most people, discipline ends up meaning conformity, imitating the mold others approve of. But a person stuck in respectability, constantly following some blueprint for living, isn't really alive. Everything they learn becomes just another spin on the same pattern. That sort of discipline only ends up destroying us. But when we stay in a spirit of discovery, always willing to learn, always curious, we're truly free. Let your mind keep moving, keep questioning, keep growing. That's where the real dance of life unfolds.